All right. Thank you for nominating me for a Grammy. Uh, and this is my mic. I got the mic, but you have to buy my record. I'm not going to sing for you. So, anyway, happy to have you all here. Speaking of singing, I was yesterday with Bob Gunzel. How many of you know Bob Gunzel? Yeah. So Bob is struggling. He's got this dementia. He's got Lewy body disease, and he's at the point where he's not really recognizing people. So I played him a lot of folk music because you know that he has been honored by the ARC as a member, not only a member but a board member who's done a lot to get the building and do lots of things. So if any of you know Bob, I think he would enjoy seeing you, even though he may not acknowledge that he's recognizing you. And if you want to go, I would recommend calling Pam Gunzel, and she'll arrange to bring you there. He's at the university facility. It's not a university facility. It's called University something. It's on. It's over by all those. There's a lot of senior places. I forget the road that it's called, but University Living. You know the road. Yeah, off of Main Street. So anyway, I'm going to dedicate this session to Bob, and he's last year the ARC dedicated, and there's a fund that he's got, and it's got over $200,000 in it. So for those of you who love Bob or love the ARC, you might think about donating in Bob's name. I know Bob for 25 years. I don't want to say knew Bob. You know, it's hard when you go visit a person. The other thing I wanted to take a minute to appreciate is that my mother-in-law, Pat's mom, who I've talked about a lot, written about, passed away this month actually, January 8th, and she was 103. So she lived a long life and a kind of, I would say, glorious life, but a very stable, enjoyable life. She was a force, you know, in everybody's life and a support in everybody's life. So Miss Jean Carino, you can look up her obituary, but she's really inspiring. I've written about her. I think I wrote about her a couple weeks ago. So I'm Rob Pasick. This is Chris and Carol. So we're really excited. I don't want to take too much time. We probably have people straggling in trying to find the place. I found the place okay. Pat drove me here. And in the process, we had a divorce. But it's only after 55 years, so yeah, I'm not going home. I'm not going home. No, that's for sure. I have a few announcements of people that I've asked to come up. First of all, I'm going to have Sydney come up, and Sydney is involved in putting on program for the Heart Association. So come up, Sydney, and you said this month is special. So, and we're going to, again, if you want to contribute money, we ask for Bob, but this month's recipient of our, if you want to, our sponsor, if you want to say, is the Heart Association. Just come up, Sydney, and you can make a 30-second pitch. You know?
Okay, yeah. Let
Right.
me know when my time's up.
Yeah, I'll tap you on the shoulder. I can tap you on the shoulder anyway.
Yeah, it's perfect. Hi, everyone. I'm Sydney. I am one of the development directors for American Heart Association, Southeast Michigan, and February is Heart Month. So just wanted to let you all know, for awareness purposes, Friday, February 6th is Wear Red Day in honor of women's heart health. For a long time, women thought their number one killer was breast cancer, but it's actually heart disease. And so all throughout February, I will be active on LinkedIn, posting lots of amazing fast facts. Feel free to connect with me. We have multiple local events in Washtenaw, Jackson counties. So we'd love to talk to you about how you can get involved. Thanks, everyone.
And how many of you have had somebody who's lost through heart disease? Oh boy, okay, so a good third of you. So this is a good opportunity to support the Heart Association and the good work that they're doing in terms of supporting research and helping people. And there's a lot of great things happening. A lot of walking miracles. Where's Eric? Is he here? I know he's here. Eric. So what have you been doing in terms of trying to keep your heart going, Eric? So Eric has, I can't say, come on up and just say what it is. I know he's been writing about it. And okay, stand up. Just stand up and. Yeah, well, I think I talk a lot about men's health, and Eric is an example of how not to do it. When you have heart pain and you can hardly breathe, yeah, and go check it out with your doctor. That's just when in doubt, go to the doctor, right? And then you go down that rabbit hole of 100 tests. I want to also mention. Dunry, come on up real quick. You get your 30 seconds. I'm going to tap you on the shoulder, but now Dunry knows how to do this. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Going up.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Dunry Greiling. I co-lead a sustainable meetup. We meet monthly. It's been meeting for about 2 years now. We highlight local businesses that are doing interesting things in the sustainability world, and we also create community around making our businesses and our communities more sustainable. We've heard from Kathy Sample from Argus Farm Stop, Matt Grokoff from Viridian, Missy Stultz from the city of Ann Arbor, Mothfire Brewing, KLA, water use has been a focus, and we're so excited because in February 26th, we'll be back here in this room hearing from Mark Smith of MIHQ talking about how sustainability is a part of the amazing work that they're doing here in this building, in our area, and across the state. So excited for that. Join us Thursday, February 26th. It's modeled on this one, so it's 8 a.m. to 9:30. And if you want to be on our mailing list or join us, let me know and I'll get you hooked up. I won't read you the URL here, but find me.
How many of your businesses are focused on quite a few? 'Cause I think you can do things even if you're not a sustainability building. Yeah, lots of things. All right, and Kemper. Well, let me have Jim first. I'm sorry. Come on, Jim, come on up. Jim has been involved. What's the name of the company? Histosonics for 16 years, and tell about your success recently.
Sure. Well, first, thanks for having me, Rob. It's an honor, and I came to see Coach Hutch, and awesome to be up here with her. So I led the Series A, my firm, in Histosonics. So that means we provided the first money and helped start the company 16 years ago. And the first 12 years, it could have gone either way. We could have lost all our money. It could have turned and be the big success it is today. And now it's like obvious to everyone, like, wow, Histosonics, of course. And, Jeff Bezos is invested now, and Peter Thiel, but it wasn't always that way. And really my learning and the message is first, it took a team. Like, it's not just me. I mean, I won the award or different awards, but it's Mike Blue, the CEO. It's the University of Michigan College of Engineering, the medical school, innovation partnerships. It's taken a whole team to rally around this, and that's how we make successes here. Like, we need everybody to contribute and row in the same direction and get in the boat, including the state of Michigan. I don't see anybody from the MEDC here. I think they're falling short, and I've told them, because other states are making stuff happen in a united way, and we can do it. Histosonics is proof. I mean, it's the rock star of the whole country in medical devices. So it can happen here, but we got to work together, and we got to, focus and be gritty and stick with it, which is, the piece that I did. So that's the message. Thanks for having me. And one public service announcement, I was telling Rob, I've less than 12 hours ago, I was in Ipsy last night. I came to the U of M Information Center on the data center, and I hope it meets the sustainability kind of thresholds. I know there's a lot about that, but I would hate to see us not get that because we get in our own way. Because if we don't get it, I can tell you there's 10 other states that are jumping on these data centers. And it's not just about the data center. It's about all the other research and jobs that it provides, at U of M and all of that. It's not just professors. People think, oh, it's just professors. But for every professor, there's probably 20 people that are employed in all levels. If we don't do that, we're going to lose, and it'll be just like the auto industry, where 25 years ago, we had plants all over the place in Saline and Ipsy, and they're gone. The same thing is going to happen if we don't do this with data centers, and Michigan will just keep falling further behind. So
what could we do to support that to happen?
Well, I went last night just as just to explore and to learn about it, not as a U of M representative. And I just talked to random people, and I tried to pick people that, kind of on the cover I thought might be against it, and most of them were for it. I talked to, I think, 6 people. 5 out of 6 were for it. One woman was not. And, judging her by the cover, she might have been like the most educated, but she was scary. She knew the headlines, but she didn't know what any of them meant. And she was just scared, and you could tell it was just she wanted no part of it. She was sticking her head in the sand on AI. She's like, AI is evil, and because AI is evil, we don't want this project here, even though this is like a research lab. Like it's an honor to have Los Alamos National Labs in Michigan. I mean, that's like a tremendous honor that will go for 50 years. Because she's afraid of AI, she was afraid of it. So I think it's try to dispel anybody you meet who's like so afraid of it. Try to educate them and point them in the direction of like, this is good, and here's why it's good, and here's why it can help. And I think they should be pushed on all of the sustainability points, and I think you can get there. It's a negotiation with these projects. Like, one guy I talked to, he's like, hey, I live really nearby, I'm for it. I wish they had a few more parks.
I'm going to wrap
All right.
I asked Jim to speak. He said, I don't know what to say. I don't have any, I don't know where, but let's hear it for Jim. Yeah. Because of time, I'm going to just shout out a few thank yous and what's coming up. So next month, Stand Up Kemper. Kemper is going to be with your boss. What's your partner? Mike
Stack.
Mike Stack, and they're going to be talking. Well, I'm
Okay, I'll be real fast. Yeah, on the note of healthcare, we're going to talk about current healthcare implications from an economic standpoint, and how wellness is actually a financially viable thing for population health and small business. So.
All right. So I don't know. We may be back here, or we may be TBD. It depends on the weather, I think. Mark Smith. Mark is. We want to thank him. He's purchased this building and is in the process of turning things around. Mark started it's MHQ, right? Michigan MAIHQ in a building on Wagner, and it's been really helpful, tremendously important in building biotech companies. He's building that out here and in Detroit, which is very exciting. And Mike's going to join us in a few months to talk about the Ann Arbor Detroit corridor and how to build this whole corridor as strong and link Ann Arbor and Detroit. And Mark has done that literally. And I think if we're going to talk about surviving, if Michigan is going to be strong, it's got to be the whole corridor, and that goes. It actually starts before Detroit. It goes all the way to St. Clair Shores, and we go beyond Ann Arbor to Jackson and other places like that. So I think that's what's going to attract companies. We have to be stronger than just Ann Arbor or just Detroit. So linking them together. So thank you, Mark.
I do.
All right, hot mic. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Happy New Year. Welcome back to Leaders Connect. Thank you, Mark, very much for letting us use this space. I am Chris Singh. Today, I'm a proud partner at Raymond, which is a wonderful professional services firm in 3 states, 24 plus offices. We just added Tampa this year. And I'm joined by my colleague, Adam Williams, over here, and my very longtime colleague, Debbie Crone, over there, too. Hi, guys. That's today. Yesterday, or back in the early 90s, I was Chris White, and I was a student athlete at the University of Michigan. My parents remember that. My parents are there today. Wave to Mom and Dad. I think they came for you, Hutch, not for me. So I am excited today to lead another edition of what we have kind of a mini-series, Women in Sports, that Rob has us lead here at Leaders Connect. Coach, I believe this is your 3rd time. Does that sound right?
Oh, coming here?
Coming here.
And I've come a few times to listen to some of the other things that
Good.
we have when
Good.
I possibly can understand what it all is.
Well, you always learn, right? We always
I'm
learn.
still trying to figure out the tech centers.
So a 3rd-timer's jacket, I think, Rob, that's on order for Hutch, right? The 3rd-timer's jacket. No, that was on your assignment to do that.
Part of the leadership swag.
Leadership
Connect
swag, yes. But today you've graduated to being our headliner. No fellow
Ooh.
panelists here.
Aren't you a panelist?
No, we're going to have a little chat, a little fireside chat, and I'm hoping you're going to do most of the talking, if that's
I'm
all right
hoping
with
there's
you.
a fire.
That'll be our exit plan. So I'll do a little intro here. So Carol Hutchins is the winningest coach in NCAA softball history and the winningest coach in Michigan athletics history. She is a legend and an icon, but neither one of those is self-proclaimed. Yet she is one of our and my local heroes. We're really excited and blessed that you've chosen to retire here in Ann Arbor. There are so many warmer places you could be. But thank you for being here with us today. So Dr. Rob set the stage when he talked about this today to talk about the future of women's athletics. But we thought maybe we'd start back in our common history, if that's okay. When we were prepping today, you and I stumbled on a common connection that goes back 35 years, and it was a woman named Peggy Bradley Dappus. So Peggy came to the University of Michigan in 1990 from University of North Carolina to coach women's volleyball. I know that because I came with her. A few of you know I played my first year at the University of North Carolina. Then I put myself in the transfer portal of one and followed her here to Michigan. And then shortly after that, she became the first athletic director, or first women's athletic director. And I think, go ahead.
Well, and she wasn't technically the first because Phyllis Oker had been technically our women's athletic director under Don Canham, for those of you who remember that blast from the past. But Peggy was brought on board to be the volleyball coach, and she became really close with Jack Weidenbach, who Jack was totally a friend of the women's sport programs and recognized that we had so much more that we could be doing, and we needed support from the Michigan Athletic Department. And he instantly saw Peggy's leadership and said, forget being the volleyball coach, would you take over our women's athletics program, because we are ready to move forward into the 19th century.
Yes. Well, back then when I brought a visual aid today, back in the early days, the women were given this jacket. Because I think we talked, maybe we weren't a varsity team back then, maybe.
It's under we're under discussion. I'm not clear if the women back when I played, and I played at a different Big Ten institution, if we were literally
Down the street, yep.
considered varsity. And pre 1982, the NCAA did not own women's athletics, and we had an association called the AIAW, Association of Intercollegiate Athletics for Women. It was a women-led organization by many administrators in college athletics, most who didn't have a whole lot of power. The powers that be were, and still are, largely men. But I can tell you for a fact that the record books start in 1982. So anybody who played 1982 is not recognized by the NCAA, and probably not by most institutions.
Yeah, we've come a long way. And we talked too, and we prepared for this. And in some ways, maybe the past is repeating, which we're going to get into a little bit. Go ahead.
No, I'll leave that
Okay.
for now. For now.
Oh, both of us? Okay. All right. So Peggy, I hadn't talked to her in 30 years. So because of you and because of this, I found her on the phone through Facebook and touched base with her. And so that was a really cool walk down memory lane. Thank you very much for being the reason I did that. And so she took me back a little bit about how it worked, how things were back then. In fact, she coached volleyball, and then they gave her a part-time job of the women's athletics. In fact, she had women's athletics, the cheerleading squad, the pep band, and the athletic medical staff. That was the other part-time job she had. She did talk about Jack Weidenbach, how supportive he was, and actually President Duderstadt back then in the day too was really proud of changing the focus from women's athletics towards excellence, because it really was not a focus back then. So can you talk about that with your experience?
Well, I think the landscape across the entire country back in, Title IX was passed in 1972. And I like to talk about that law, but I do tell people, if you're going to write a book, don't put it in your title. But in fact, it was a legislation, it was an educational amendment that came through the back door of Congress largely, that said that you couldn't discriminate at any federally funded institutions based on gender. And it was to allow women to have greater access to higher education, because women at that point in time, in the 50s and 60s and early 70s, were less than 30% of college campuses. Less than 10% of women were faculty, and less than 5% of women were in the STEM fields. So the legislation was allowing, whether it was financial aid, whether it was universities to start taking closer look at women in admissions, and to allow us into more schools than just nursing and education, I believe. But where they found women to be the most underrepresented was in athletics, which might be the end of our conversation, athletics in junior high, high school, and college is meant to be an arm of the educational system, and it's a unique way to be educated in life. And I happen to think it's one of the best classrooms anywhere, but of course I might be biased. And now I don't remember what your question is. But I like to talk about Title IX from that viewpoint, because most people, if I ask them, do you know what Title IX is? Yeah, it's why you women get to play sport, which isn't wrong. We are not anywhere, and I've been asked several times, what is the single most important thing besides Title IX that has impacted women in sport? And I said, there isn't anything. You can't point to any single other thing, because it is a law, it has protected us through a time when athletic departments, so to go back to when Peggy started, and Don Cannon was here for years, created this system of filling our football stadium and marketing of college football. And he was brilliant, but he was not a fan, and in fact, literally went to Washington, D.C. to lobby Congress against Title IX. As he said, it could ruin college football. So you're not blaming us for this. I can tell you that.
So with that challenging backdrop, and you arrived here in 85, 86?
I got here in 1982. I came as the assistant softball coach. For anybody in this room that might remember Bob DeCarolis, who went on to be a longtime athletic director at Oregon State. but he hired me. He worked in the business office. He took care of the monies, which definitely didn't hurt our chances to at least try to scrape some pennies together to have a program. And I was his assistant for 2 years before I became the head coach in '85.
And resources were scarce back in the beginning.
Let's just go back to the thought process wasn't we have women's sports. If it's good for the boys, it must be good for the girls. All the qualities that you learn and all the opportunities you have, it was, we have this law, we have to do it, but we don't have to do it well. And we were not here to be great in any of our female sports. And we were here literally, I mean, when my first day of work, I got to Michigan, and I came from East Lansing, just so in case you didn't know. And I was thrilled to get to be at the University of Michigan. And I knew, because I had played at Michigan State, that Michigan was in the dweller of women's sports, period. Like in softball, they barely existed. In basketball, they had some good players. But I can tell you that I was told this. There are 3 sports here at Michigan that you need to know about: football, winter conditioning, and spring football. So I thought, wow, are we 4th? I didn't know. But I can tell you that to say it was reluctant would be kind.
So how did you and Peggy and a lot of others back then, how did you take the few resources we had, and how did you push and achieve excellence?
Well, I can remember vaguely my first several years when I became the head coach, and I used to walk over to baseball, which had 3 full-time coaches. They had a field crew. They had practice gear. The coaches all wore full Michigan practice gear. And our women had a T-shirt, pair of shorts, a sweatshirt, and a pair of sweatpants. And it
The scrappy
said-
jacket.
And it said Michigan Women's Athletics. And that's basically what they had. So we couldn't even wear practice gear every day because the kids, we didn't have laundry. We didn't have any resources. We didn't have academic advisors. We didn't have tutoring. We didn't have training table. We did have doctors, but we just didn't have any of the resources allocated. We had some scholarships, but they didn't begin to cover our teams. And those things were just non-existent. And people ask me, well, how did you really focus on coaching? I said, well, I didn't. I had to focus every day. First of all, when I became the head coach in '85, and several women became, this is when James Duderstadt basically went to Jack Weidenbach and said, we have to do better. And I'm sure part of it was driven by the fact that we were a lawsuit waiting to happen. There was a Title IX lawsuit here that could have been epic. But I had just become a head coach, and that wasn't how I wanted to start my career. But I can tell you that we had, every day was survival. And when I first became the head coach, I was a 50% athletics appointment. And 50% I was considered clerk typist. And I remember when I interviewed with Don Canham, this is a true story, and I finally got sent in there. I'm this lowly assistant. I put on the only clothes I had that were a skirt and a suit coat, and I remember somebody saw me later and said, that doesn't even match. I said, it doesn't matter because he didn't look at me. And he asked me one question. We asked 2 questions. One, he said, are you ready? And I, of course, lied and said yes. And he asked me if I could type. And I lied again. But this is the thing. I had no idea why. I thought that was an odd question. But, I got the job. So I started September 1st, and I came in, and Phyllis Oker was still our women's athletic director. She goes, well, you have to answer phones, type up my class notes. I was basically her administrative assistant from 8 to noon every day. And I had no full-time assistant. Well, I wasn't even full-time. And my assistant, I brought in a woman I'd met who was my assistant coach. She worked from 8 to 3 every day at the training room. She answered phones there. And we'd meet at the field and quickly pull the weeds. I'd run and get a tractor from baseball while they had everything taken care of. And they spent all day getting ready to make their team great. And that was how we all rolled. Every woman who had been hired in the department had a secondary role. And we were all 50%. 10-month So not only that, we didn't get paid in July and August. You don't need to eat in July and August. You go to other people's barbecues.
So as Peggy told me, and we'll circle back to current times soon, but she talked about how things just being a fight for everything, and having to make a business case for why it was good for Michigan to have women excelling and representing the university. She did talk about President Duderstadt and his wife. They got some report regularly that showed how the women were doing, and that was really a source of pride to them. Peggy did talk about finding true waste and some risk in other parts of the athletic department and making the case for the money is here. It just has to be spent better for the women. And the women started winning. There was more access. So tell me your piece of that, access for yourself and the coaches and how you push through that.
Well, first of all, Jack Weidbach made us full-time. That was wonderful because I was a terrible secretary. And but the resources came. We got more scholarship dollars. We got an assistant that was, I mean, nobody was paid well, but full-time. They were available all day to do our recruiting. We had academic advisors and, the resources we had. I mean, having scholarships was the main thing. To get people to come to Michigan, we had to give them scholarships. And Peggy was a pit bull. She believed that we could win at Michigan. I think we all believed we could win, but we were kind of lost souls with no direction. And she gave us direction. She pushed us. She knew the buttons to push, and she knew how to make things happen. And she did. She demanded excellence from us, and she propelled us. And when Chris called me about this, and I knew Chris played volleyball, but, I didn't tie it together that she had played for Peggy. And I said, Peggy's the number one reason why we were propelled forward. But really, you have to give credit to Jack Weidenbach. And I do want to say that once, if you all recall, Bo had become the athletic director right after he retired in 1989. And he hired Jack so he could focus on football. But in fact, once Bo got a little bit removed from football, he did start paying attention to the rest of us. And he wanted excellence because he believed in Michigan. And he wanted everybody. If you wear the Block M, you're here to be excellent. That's what Michigan is about. That's when we talk leaders and the best. And we had his support. And he became a fan of many of our women's athletics and was seen in my stands many times. He loved softball. He played baseball himself. But I give credit to Bo because once he paid attention, he was like, wow.
It's good to hear. I don't remember him being a real fan of women's sports, so that's good to hear some part. I remember having to go for therapy in the back of Schembeckler Hall, and we had to sneak in the side way because he didn't want the women going in the front door.
And to be fair to Bo, he didn't want anybody coming in.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. He didn't want anybody in that building. But that is true. I think those days were, again, back in the 80s and early 90s, women weren't integrated and they weren't accepted. And I can't say that's true of every place in America. And Iowa was really starting to boom. They were filling Carver Hawkeye Arena with Vivian Stringer as their basketball coach. And, a lot of people had said, okay, we have to do it. We might as well figure out how to do it right. We were not first in line in that category. And I don't think it was just Bo. I don't think that anybody really accepted us. But it was it's an evolution.
Yes, we've come a long way. So let's bring it full circle. You retired a couple years ago, 2022. So as you reflect, you're not in it every day, but how do you reflect on today's college athletics and your experiences?
Well, right at that time when I retired was when, we had some really major changes in college athletics, which paying players, the NIL space, and then right after that, here came revenue share. And it was right after we had all the COVID incidents. And it was talk about an upheaval. It was like an earthquake and a giant fault, in my opinion. And, it has shifted. And, you talk about whether we're going backwards. But, in fact, what's happening with all of the monies situation, the revenue share, college sport programs are allowed to give up to $20 million per year to pay revenue share to our student athletes. Now, that's a lot of money out of a budget even like ours. So you think about some of the smaller schools who don't make as much money as we make. We are the number 2 budget in the country based on some of the things I read. But we spend a lot of money on making that money. And so what's happening is definitely a leveling off of all the Olympic sports because the money is flowing to largely football and men's basketball. And whether it's revenue share or so many of our donors who are now shifting to donating to our NIL so we can afford to get the great players to come. And the transfer portal, that was one of the major seismic shifts where student athletes, to a degree, rightfully so, they pick an institution, it's not for them, but they've always had the ability to leave. But we used to say if you leave, you sit out for a year, although that was often waived. It was very common, especially in the Olympic sports. If a kid didn't like it at Michigan, they could leave and we would release them.
Which is what happened with me. So Carolina
North
waived
Carolina.
and yeah.
Yeah. They didn't hold too many people to that, but it was a way to kids, first of all, make thoughtful decisions based on your long-term future. And, you can argue whether kids have the right to come and go, but some of these kids, I was in a meeting the other day. I still am in the athletic department. I'm considered a special advisor to nobody.
Sounds like a good job.
But if anybody needs advice, I'm here. And we had a student athlete that we're trying to figure out how to find classes for. This is their 4th school. And, you wonder, well, where are they going to say? What's their bumper going to say? Bumper sticker going to say? I went to X, cross it out. Y, cross it out. Z, Michigan. So it's a wacky world. It's very difficult to navigate. And I think the long haul concern is how can we continue to sustain this? But I've been in college athletics for 44 years, actually longer. And every time we've been through these, when we were adding women's sports in the 80s and 90s, how can we sustain this? How can we afford it? And all the different movements we've had, and somehow we keep finding ways to sustain it. But I can tell you that right now the money is draining to largely to male sports.
I believe I've heard too that the NIL compliance budgets have been cut across the universities too as they try to figure out how to meet the revenue sharing requirements. So even those folks kind of tasked with trying to keep us on the straight and narrow, some of those resources are going down too.
Well, a lot of the resources are being cut back, period. There's just only so much money.
So how about the future? Where do you see the future of women's sports or Michigan softball, however you'd like to talk about it?
Well, I just believe that if you look at our women's basketball team, is anybody in here following them right now? They are kicking it. They are ranked in the top 10 in the country. They are having their best year in the history and really a great shot to make the Final Four. And I ran into one of the staff members a couple days ago. I go, what day are we filling Chrysler Arena? Like, why are we waiting to fill it? I was at the Nebraska game the other night, the men's game, and it's packed. It was a great environment. But I think in women's athletics, and if you look at what's happening in pro sport, whether the National Women's Soccer League, the WNBA, to an extent AUSL, which is the Athletes Unlimited, softball, they have softball, volleyball. There's a volleyball professional league, and there's a team in Grand Rapids. Do you know the name of it, Meg?
Grand Rapids Rise, is that right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so women, and what's happening, I was at a sport business conference this fall. There was a gentleman up on stage. His name is Alexis Ohanian. And I had no idea who he was. So yeah, that's where I sit. And I go, wait, he's married to who? Serena? Like the Serena? Yep. But more importantly, he's the inventor of Reddit, the co-founder. He is a billionaire.
He's on Shark Tank now too.
And he's a Shark Tank guy. And he is all about the monies that not only are being invested in the women's professional sports, but we see where the WNBA, we see where National Women's Soccer League, the soccer league just sold one of their Denver franchise for $100 million. And so the monies are starting to become real. Keep in mind, Title IX passed in 72, so women's sports is largely just over 50 years old. I mean, heck, I'm older than that. And
Now, the volleyball team did fill Chrysler this past season. I think you were there
Yes.
too, weren't you, Meg? Yes. So when Nebraska came to town,
we have
that was
had
awesome.
a number of. I was at the gymnastics meet last year when we played against UCLA. It was filled to the rim. I mean, we have had glimpses of what we can do, and it's not consistent yet. But again, football's 158 years old. Baseball's over 160 years old, and I think our evolution is actually our trajectory's been much higher and much quicker. But it's a matter of, at this point, investing in the future, trying to figure out a way to take the sports that are capable of making some money. Keep in mind, TV is the biggest way any athletic departments make money, and the TV contracts are largely bundled up, so the men's basketball tournament gets most of the money. The CFP money does not have to go back to the institutions, but we need to figure out a way to cash in on the women's sport program so we can help them sustain and increase our revenues, but increase our popularity, because we are very popular in our worlds. It's just still a growing evolution.
So lucky us, because this is a room full of business leaders. So what can business leaders do to help this cause?
Invest.
How?
Well, see me after. But I think being involved, whether it's sponsorships, whether it's being involved in getting opportunities to our women athletes in the NIL space, whether you want to donate to that space or you have businesses where what we are looking for right now is, even with monies available, we have to have, there's a clearinghouse. It's called NIL Go. And for every athlete who's going to sign a deal, it has to go through a clearinghouse to make sure it meets whatever requirements they've put on it. And but we need places for our student athletes to, whether they intern, whether they tweet out about your business, whether they help support your business. We need a way to deliver them the monies that we do raise for NIL, and we always need help in those spaces to help attract quality talent.
So the women athletes are fabulous ambassadors and would do that role very well for any of our businesses. I wanted to get to some questions too from the audience. I bet you guys have some. I had a couple fun things to pepper you with a little bit here. We talked about the fact that you like to go to other teams' practices. So talk about that.
Well, I don't go to a lot. I do. I like to go to softball practice. I try not to go too often. I love to go to Kim Barnes-Arico's practices. They are so upbeat and fast, and she's right on the court up and down with them. You really can't discern between whether she's a player or the coach. But more than anything, I like to engage with our coaches. You know, as a special advisor, one of the things, my favorite thing to do is just sit down with our coaches. I'm kind of like the old wise gal in the department, and offer them whether it's encouragement, whether it's just advice. I'm not their evaluator, and you know, it's a very complicated world, and really just how to navigate their world, especially a lot of our young coaches who haven't been in the driver's seat for a long time. How to navigate the athletic department, the campus. I like to get to know the coaches and be of help to them, because I mean, I think it doesn't matter whether you're a brand new professional or you've been in the field for 30 years. Everybody needs a mentor.
Do you have aspirations to do more? Maybe athletic director for Michigan?
I think being an athletic director in today's
Everyone's
world,
wondering.
in today's world, being an athletic director, I don't see why anybody would want to be the athletic director. It is really a difficult world, and clearly has a very visible. Anytime you have a mistake or a pitfall, boy, you are in the front and center.
How's the No, I do not have aspirations, but thank you, Rob. How's the Michigan softball team look this year?
Well, I watched some scrimmage last weekend. They scrimmage indoors in Oosterbaan Fieldhouse. And for those of you who wonder, our season begins a week from today.
Oh, wow.
The softball season. And the baseball season, I think, starts 1 or 2 weeks later. College softball and baseball. I don't think we're going to have a home game for until July. We play typically the first 6 weeks away, and that means leave Thursday, hopefully after class, if you can get commercial flights to cooperate with wherever you're going. We play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, usually up to a 5-game weekend. They get on a plane Sunday night and fly home and do it all over again, week after week, the first 6 weeks. The softball season is 14 weeks long, and Michigan is typically home for 4 of those weekends. So the question I get asked most is, how do they do it? How do the students do it? These kids take full credit loads because you have to, which means minimum of 12 credits. Most of our kids graduate in 4 years, sometimes 4.5, sometimes 5. And people ask me all the time, how do the student athletes do it? I said, because student athletes are a cut above, and they don't get enough credit. And we don't get enough credit in college athletics for what these kids do and how they achieve. They're high achievers. They manage both full-time schedules, and they do it well. And out of our 950 student athletes, over half of them are 3.0 and above, and they all take majors that are, well, this is Michigan. And we don't let just anybody into Michigan. Believe it or not, that is still true.
College athletes are amazing hires for businesses. We gobble up everyone that we can find because the preparation they've been under getting to that point is unmatched.
We have found in the last probably 10 years, since we have a fabulous career center at Michigan, that people come in especially looking for women. They want women who've played athletics. And fact is, 90% of the Forbes top 500 company executives that are women played sport, and 80% of C-suite women played sport of some type. So it's a chance to really develop leadership skills, and we find a lot of great leaders that come out of athletics.
That's a value proposition. Wow. So, Rob, I don't know how you want to manage time, but do you want to get some questions from the audience? All right, anybody? Rich.
Yeah, I'm just curious with the expansion of big.
Can anybody hear that question? It's about the new
The travel
Big
schedule in
10,
particular. Yep.
edition of, think about it. How would you like to be Rutgers and fly all the way to Oregon for the day to play, or vice versa? And we're not even in the middle of the country. So nobody asked the Olympic sports. Every ounce of information that I read about that had to do with football. And football is a different animal. Obviously, they get on a charter plane and they can go anywhere and play, spend the night, play the game, and come home. And is it difficult for travel schedules? Well, student athletes at Michigan, we've always had difficult travel schedules. As I just referred to, softball traveling. So we're on a plane whether you're going to Minneapolis, which sometimes going to Minneapolis is more expensive than going to L.A. Don't ask me about that. But it's definitely to go play in different time zones. I went out and watched our team at Oregon last year, and getting to Oregon was a 12-hour ordeal commercially because we had to fly to Seattle. We had to sit and wait for 2.5 hours. And by the time we landed, we'd been en route from the locker room since 6 a.m., and we got there at 6 p.m. our time, and we had to turn around and play a 3-game series with them. So is it difficult? Women's basketball went to Oregon over New Year's, Oregon, Seattle, and they were there for 6 days. Because why fly all the way home to fly all the way back? But being in a hotel for 4 days is, people say, oh, what a life they have staying at the Hilton. And I'll tell you what, it's very draining. I mean, there's only so much you can do with, your team of 20 in a hotel for 4 days. So
We always had a terrible time playing the day we flew to. The legs never felt the
you
same,
really
and
can't
it's
do that
challenging.
and do it. There's a reason the men don't do it.
Yeah. They couldn't handle it, Carol. They couldn't handle it. Any other question?
A question about this week's recent announcement with NIL extending over to high school sports. Just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on, is that a positive or a negative in your perspective?
That's not even in my brain. I didn't know that they couldn't go out and use their name or image likeness to say, oh, I love to eat at McDonald's and tweet about it, and McDonald's pays them a fee. I didn't know that was something they couldn't do. Like the NCAA had literally, NIL in its true form is a positive. Kids can be entrepreneurs of their own self. Basically, it's no different than getting a summer job, but when our kids would get summer jobs, and I used to help our kids get jobs on our campus in the summer so they could save money for the school year. And the NCAA had to go, all the paperwork they had to do to prove that we weren't giving them too much money, that they were making the going rate. Or I had kids who wanted to work at a clinic to teach softball to little kids. They had to go through the NCAA. The NCAA was owning them. And that was flat out wrong. We all have a right to go out and do side hustles. So the fact that now the high school kids can do it, well, I didn't know they couldn't. But depending how it's done, but what's happened, the minute it passed and all of us knew what was going to happen, the NIL became immediately all the illegal booster clubs that had been funneling monies and paying for football players' homes and cars and families. It became somewhat legal, and it became out of whack. We're just paying people to come to our schools. Some schools were doing it already, and that's called the collectives, and those to me are what we need to figure out.
So Bill, our wonderful videographer, has a question for you about the Caitlin Clark effect. What are your thoughts on that in college athletics?
Well, first of all, I've followed women's basketball for a long time. I played basketball back in the day. And I believe we've had a lot of great players throughout many years. Diana Taurasi always was one of my favorites from UConn. But I feel like Caitlin was the perfect storm. She had the perfect opportunity, the perfect platform. We had just gone through the locker room crisis during COVID, not the locker room, the weight room. And if you're not familiar with that, during COVID, when they had a 3-game go to the Final Four and you just stayed there until you lost, in the men's tournament, they took an entire hotel conference area and made it into a large weight room so that teams could continue to train while they were in the tournament. And they took the women's tournament, and in their little hotel, how they have those little workout rooms, that was their room. And some student athlete tweeted about it, and it became national controversy, and they had to investigate. The NCAA had to investigate themselves. How could this happen? And I thought, I don't know, maybe she'd point the thumb. And but it all became, it brought out a lot of the inequities. And that was all the perfect storm of things. But Caitlin is a fantastic player, very deserving, has handled all of her good ups and downs fantastically. But I do think there has been that effect, and it's only for the positive of women in sport. But I think she had the perfect platform as well.
Carol, I have a question for you. I've been an executive coach for maybe 25 years, and there's a lot of coaches out there now, but you're a real coach, and you've coached. How many kids do you think you've coached?
The ones that took the coaching, or the ones I actually had on my team?
The ones that you were.
I think we count. We tried to count. I think around somewhere between 250 or something alumni, maybe. Not sure.
Okay. My question is, what are your key thoughts and principles about how to go about coaching?
Well, he told me he was going to ask this. I said, well, have good players, I think coaching is, it's the greatest profession, but I think it's just a people profession. And we're coaching people. It's like whatever type of leadership you're in. I love to study leadership. That's why I got involved in this. But we're trying to take a group of people together and mold them into one unit. And, my dad was a cop and he was a Marine. So I grew up in a military style. I didn't have to salute or anything. But, we're very disciplined. And I'm the fifth of 6 children, so I got the most of the discipline. But I do think that you want to be authentic. People need to, when they meet you, they need to know you. Your kids need to know you care about them. Your people you lead, they need to know you care about them before they care how much you know about. And that is really true when you're working with young people. People ask me how kids have changed today. I don't know that kids have changed so much. Their world has changed. Their parents have changed, and technology. And I'm reading a book by Betsy Butterick talking about the kids today. And what's it called? Kids today, like these kids. And it's really interesting because she just talks about that they grew up with all the technologies. They didn't grow up with relationship building. They text their mom when their mom's sitting across the table from them at dinner because they don't want to talk to them. And so we have to learn how to understand all that to coach them today. But I think the most important ingredient of a coach, you have to have some competencies. You can't just not know how to, run your plays. But that's not really what we're doing. I mean, we are creating relationships with a group that's intertwined and intersects with each other, and to get them to get the most out of all of them in whatever our endeavor is, whether it's volleyball, softball, football.
Sydney?
Thanks for coming and giving this talk today. What advice would you give to young professional women, maybe women who are college athletes or otherwise? Women, often in this space might have to prove themselves a little bit more. Maybe that burnout is taking place even earlier. What advice would you give?
So am I giving advice to somebody who wants to go into coaching or just
No, just
in life?
Going into their professional career.
Great. That's great. Well, do women have to prove themselves more? You could argue that everybody has to prove themselves to move along and to move up. I like to tell any of my student athletes, and whatever your role is, whether you're in a company, whether you're the freshman on the team, you have to do whatever your role is, and you need to be the star at it. Be the best one there is. And you're never going to control what the other people think and say, but you can only control your effort. And a lot of times, young people are like, well, this isn't the role I want. I don't want to be the pinch runner that comes in once a game. And they don't do it very well. And I'm like, well, how do you think you're going to get into a bigger role if you don't do that role really well? And so, and I do believe the best thing that ever happened to me, and I wouldn't change the trajectory of my career or the fact that, I had to figure out how to use every back door at Michigan when I became the head coach. Fortunately, my boss, Bob, who had hired me, he gave me the keys. But we weren't really allowed in the front doors. We had to figure out how to get things done without resources and support. And you make a decision, whether I've heard people complain, this isn't right, this isn't fair, and you should have that moment, and then you better figure out how to get it done, because that is the only way you're going to move up. The best thing that happened to me was I started at the bottom. I did 12 jobs at once so I could coach softball at Michigan. And I look back and think of all the experiences I've had and how people still come to me because they're like, I don't know how to get in the front door. I said, well, this is where the back door is. And you still have to use it sometimes. But start at the bottom and be really good at it.
So
And
excellence is the standard all the
excellence
way
is your
through.
standard every day. Thank you.
Maybe one last question or 2 last questions. I'll get you next, Jan.
Hi, my name's Nia. I just want to say thank you for this. I'm a passionate follower of the women's basketball team.
Awesome.
And I'll just put in a plug. We're playing Michigan State twice this season, this Sunday and then February 8th.
February
This Sunday,
14th, I thought, at Michigan.
15th, I think, yes. And
In Ann Arbor.
yes. And something I just want to add to the conversation today is that this season, Michigan women's basketball is for the first time ever retiring some jerseys, which I see as a sign of progress in the recognition and acknowledgement of women's sports. So Diane Dietz had her jersey retired a few weeks ago. Caitlin Flaherty will be soon, and then Naz Hillmans will be retired at the Michigan State game. So get tickets, come. Also, we're playing UCLA on the 8th, I think. Yeah, the 8th. And they're number 2 in the country right now. We're number 9, so it would be a big upset if we beat them. And I just want to say the Caitlin Clark effect. I went to the Big Ten tournament a couple years ago, and it was in Minneapolis, and it was unreal. The lines of fans from Iowa that were lined up waiting to get into that arena stretched for over a mile through the air bridges that they have in Minneapolis. It was incredible. It made me inspired, and also thinking come on, Michigan, we got to get our program to the point where we are filling Chrysler. I mean, they fill a Carver Hawkeye for all their games. So anyway, thank you. And I wanted to ask you, as you look to the future of women's sports, how do you see opportunity, or where do you see opportunity for women to differentiate themselves from the men a little bit, or do things differently than sort of the men's game?
Well, I think we are different, the men's game. I mean, softball's different than baseball, and women's basketball is very similar to men's basketball, but we do play it differently. We don't play above the rim, so to speak. I think the question is, how do we differentiate the fans? And again, part of it is it's an evolution. We've come so far, but we're not there yet. We're still evolving. And how do we reach? I was going to ask you. You've seen the rabid Iowa fans. Iowa fans are crazy, but that's a good thing. And they fill their arenas. And I think
Nebraska volleyball fans similar.
Nebraska volleyball, who fill everywhere they go. They have filled stadiums, and so a number of years when Michigan softball would go play anywhere in the Big Ten, that was the one game they sold it out, but they revved it up. And right now, for our women, I feel we need to really rev up and get people in the arena for that Michigan State game. It's going to be good. Michigan State's good as well. But we need to fill the arena, so I ask everybody to come.
It's Phil Chrysler. Reasonable price tickets, too, until they're not. Hopefully someday they're not.
Fantastic entertainment. And once fans come, they usually fall in love.
All right, Jan, you're going to bring it home. Quick question? Okay.
And it's not a question. It's a thank you. I want to thank Carol Hutchins. I'm having an event on Monday for 100 high school girls at Washtenaw Community College. Sorry, Rob, but Athena is having it. He hates when I talk about Athena. Carol Hutchins, Marilyn Clark, Amy Sell, some of the absolutely exceptional women leaders in this community have stepped up to help. They will be on panels. They will behave as mentors, having lunch with the girls, talking about STEM and the importance of that in every career in today's environment. And I am just overwhelmed at how women come together to help other women and build tomorrow's women leaders. Carol, thank you very much for stepping up to help. Marilyn, thank you very much. Amy, thank you for volunteering. And thank you for being here today.
Well, I do think it's important that, we talk a lot about, when I grew up, I always tell people, I was 7 years old, lived in Lansing, told my mom, I want to go to Michigan State, and I'm going to play football for Duffy Doherty. Because that's what I wanted to do. But my role models were Al Kaline, Bill Freehand, and Bart Starr. And I had this idea that I wanted to play sports, but I never knew I was going to play women's sports. And that's a different topic. We're not going to talk about it. But, in fact, to be it, you have to see it. And I think being in front of women need to understand that leadership is – we still only in Division I, Power 5 athletics, Power 4 now, have 6 women athletic directors. Only 6.
That's fun. And we're looking for number 7. I don't have any advance notice, but it's, one of you may be the person. I don't know. So thank you, Carol. I got to know Carol over the last year or so, and she's just fantastic as a listener. And talk about good listeners. It's not about just asking questions. It's about curiosity. And Carol continues to be very curious about learning new things. She asks about it, and she has a genuine asking. It's just not like, oh, tell me about you, but it's like, oh, what's that like? And tell me more and more. So it's really a skill, and I'm sure that you've used that well because people know you care about them. She's one of those people like, she's my best friend, and she's Rich's best friend, and she's Dunry's best friend. She comes across as a best friend to everybody she meets, which is an amazing skill. Thank you, Carol. Thank you,
Thanks
Chris.
for having me. See you at the games.
Actually, where you can see Carol tomorrow is at Power Center because she's going to be giving a TED Talk. Yeah. Except it's going to be called a Theodora talk because we're going to change it to the women. So what time is it, 3 o'clock? Or
Not tomorrow. It is in March.
March, okay.
I wouldn't be here if it was tomorrow.
Is anybody giving a TED Talk here?
Is anybody giving a TED Talk? Okay.
Rich Sheridan, you've given a TED Talk, yeah.
Okay, let's,
you could give Carol some tips.
Don't.
Mainly about managing your nerves. I would think that would be. So I just want to thank quickly. I'm not going to take much time, but I'm going to forget people. Kemper, these are sponsors for Leaders Connect. I've got it written down here. Could you just hand me that so I don't forget it? Kemper with Applied Fitness Solutions. Let's see. We have Office Evolution. Is it Maria? Is that? Mimi, yeah. Office Evolution, which is a great place if you want to hang out and don't have an office. I use it a lot to have meetings and do groups, and so I really enjoy it. Who else? Raise your hand. I want to thank Mark. Let's give a big hand to Mark for providing this. And Mark, what is the name of the bakery? Bird Dog Cafe. And is there food left? If there's food left, please go up and take it because it will it'd be wasted if you don't. And take some back to your workplace, which is probably your home. So don't take too much, or go into Office Evolution or wherever you work and bring some back because it's delicious food. And Hyperion has provided the coffee, which is great and available in all the stores. Ross here. Bank of Ann Arbor, which is an amazing sponsor of so many things, and has been one of our sponsors for many years. And he's going to be doing a program on innovation, right? Is that kind of it? And so we hope to have some of the people, maybe Jim, a few other people here who've done amazing things with innovation. Who am I forgetting? Raymond. Hey, you've already made the pitch, Chris. Raymond has been a sponsor for many years, and we really appreciate you see the banner up here. You could take a picture of it. By the way, I would encourage people to take pictures and put them on that thing called social media so you can make all our children have bad mental health problems by going there. That's what they said about TV. You remember that? It's going to ruin us. Varnum, is it Matt here? Had to leave. Okay, Varnum has been a sponsor, and they're going to be doing a program about the entertainment industry and the culture industry in Ann Arbor. So if you guys know maybe the Arc and other places like that. Let's see who else I've got here. Bill Hall with his company. He did my mother-in-law's funeral. He came and did an amazing videotape, live streamed it. This is being live streamed today. And Mike Durgis. Where's Mike? Mike is in the back. Mike, stand up, show him how tall you are. So we're having a height. Rich, Mike. We got a few people that are going to do. But Mike is a co-sponsor of Leaders Connect Detroit. And you're going to be doing a program. Do you have a date for that? May 12th. And what's the program going to be? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's going to be great. So come to the event in the morning and then in the afternoon. Jeanette, what's the name of the company? Jeanette Pierce, who does amazing tours of Detroit. Have anybody been on those tours? Yeah, they're really brilliant. and you go to places that you may, what is this all about? I've never been here. Now, I grew up in Detroit, and I didn't know about these places. I don't know about these places because I haven't been back enough. Did I miss anything? So I just want to thank all those folks. I also want to mention a couple things that are coming up. I'm sorry to take all your thunder here, but I just want to thank all these sponsors because they're the ones that keep Leaders Connect going every year. There's going to be, talk to Cindy. Where's Cindy? Raise your hand. Cindy's new to the group. Not Sydney, but Cindy. We just talked about putting together a little seminar, a little coffee meeting of people looking for jobs. Because I'm, with the economy now, I'm having more and more people calling me and saying, hey, can I tap into your network because we're trying to figure out what jobs are. And some of the people, their jobs are going away because of AI. Like I've had an editor come to me, and he said they let me go because they could do this stuff with AI. So people have to reprogram themselves. They're very well educated, but AI is coming in. I'm also going to put together a new Next Steps program. So that's for people who want to figure out what they're doing with their career and are trying to figure out the next steps. And so if anybody's interested in those two things. Again, thank you, Chris. Chris has been really great in planning these programs. She just is an amazing, great person, a great resource in the community. We have many people like that. Carol and you guys can hang out a little bit. Is it okay to see you guys? Is that yeah, these guys. Okay, you guys can hang out a little while, and we will, go get some more food if you like, and we'll be back in end of February. We're gonna do all these events the last Friday in the month. So I'm not sure to be announced. Maybe come back here or to find another spot. How was it coming here? Is it okay, everybody? Yeah. All right. Yeah. You didn't have a bike? No, I drove myself. Oh, no fight in your car. Yeah. I think next time I'm going to take my bike and I'll find my way. Well, I guess we wrap up. Say hello to everybody. It's a wrap. Yeah.